Have you ever noticed you've been saying same thing over and over to other people? What if I told you that's the very thing you need to do? Hi, I'm Kumiko, self-trust coach for disconnected midlife moms. Today, I'm going to share a story of the power of I can so you can start stepping out of your comfort zone. Let's get started. About 8 years ago, I was working with a middle school student, and often I said to him, "Don't tell me you can't do it. If you tell yourself you can't, you won't do it." So I told him to repeat after me, "Yes, I can," for 3 times. And we did it every single time whenever he felt stuck or he seemed stuck. Then, after a couple of weeks, I started thinking or reflecting on my words. If you believe you can't, you won't do it. Am I actually believing in myself that I can? I felt so hypocrite because I didn't believe in myself. To change my life, I was stuck in a toxic marriage for over 2 decades. Was I doing anything to change my life? No. It wasn't about him. It was about me. I kept saying, "Believe in yourself." Say, "Yes, I can." That's exactly what I needed to do. And once I started believing in myself to do something that could change my life, that's when everything started changing. I avoided things that made me uncomfortable. It was much easier for me to just live with familiar life, even though it was costing my life, than stepping out of my comfort zone. And I know you want to start believing in yourself. That's why you're here. Here's my question. What have you been saying to others over and over lately? That's exactly what you need to do. For example, if you're saying to your children, "Go to bed early," or "drink more water," or "cut screen time," I want you to be aware of what you constantly say to others. So once you identify, you accept that is you. Then you decide what you want to do about it. You need to start taking action. I want you to focus on granular, very small step you can take today. For example, what I did with the student, while I was asking him to say, "Yes, I can," I also placed my hand on my chest and say, "Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can." It's just a little, but I was actually telling myself, not for him. So very small action you can start taking. That's all you need. Let's review what we talked about today. Whatever you've been saying over and over to others may be the very thing you need to do. I know you're comfortable staying in the comfort zone, but that's not the reason why you're here. Because when you're comfortable, you're not growing. You're stuck there. So let's change it. How? You're going to first identify what you've been saying. Once you identify, then you're going to come up with some ideas what you can do. Be curious. Then come down to the very granular action plan. Then start taking that action. When you start taking consistent action, you are also building your stronger muscle. Stronger muscle means you are believing the power of I can. Today, I want you to reflect on what you've been saying over and over. that could be the very first step you need to create the future you really want. I would love to hear what you came up with, what you've been saying to others. Because once you write it down or share that with others, you become accountable. And I can be your accountability partner. So please leave it in the comments below. And thank you for being here. And thank you for watching.